In high school, nothing made me more anxious than the thought of inviting someone to church. So evangelism comes from the Greek word evangelizo. Repeat after me, evangelizo. It's actually the same word that we get the word gospel from, just the noun version. That's evangelion. So the gospel just means the good news. So evangelize means telling people the good news. And these words were not suddenly invented for Christianity. Paul the Apostle didn't say, we need a word for telling people about Jesus, so I'm going to make one up. No, these were actually used in the Roman Empire. What would happen is messengers would be sent to cities and regions to tell the good news that the Caesar was coming, or that Rome was coming to bring peace. They would tell the good news of the hope that Rome was coming to bring peace. But if any of my history students out there know, Roman peace did not come peacefully. It often came with a sword and with slaughter, and they would quell rebellions quite brutally. But Paul, hearing this word and the context of it, that they would preach the good news that peace was coming, he's like, this sounds familiar. This sounds exactly like what we preach. The good news that Jesus brings us peace. The good news that Jesus brings us hope. So Paul stole that word. The correct word here is he appropriated that word. He stole that word and said, we're going to use this in the church. We're going to use this to describe what we do when we tell the good news about Jesus. And what's going on here is he's saying, hey, Rome didn't actually have the good news. There is no hope and peace in government. Government's not going to suddenly make your life awesome. You need something else. You need a true Savior. You need God to bring you true peace. So they went out and they preached the good news of Jesus Christ. So I think that all of us can agree that we're supposed to evangelize. We're supposed to go out and tell people the good news of Jesus Christ. But most of us don't. And that's me included. I already told you that high school, the idea of evangelizing was very stressful to me. And in fact, telling people the good news about anything is very stressful to me. One time I had a job, I was supposed to sell shoes at the Los Angeles State Fair. And I was supposed to go out into the aisle and then try and get people to come into our shop to buy shoes. I felt so much stress on that first day that when I went to my lunch break, I sat there and I realized every muscle in my body was tense, and I had to spend the whole lunch break just relaxing. Well, I don't recommend this, but I went back and told my boss, this is it. This is my last day. I'm sorry, I can't go through this for the whole month of the LA County Fair. So telling the good news about shoes definitely stressed me out. Telling the good news about Jesus, which is way more important than shoes, stressed me out too. But you would think I would grow out of that, right? So in high school, fear stopped me from evangelizing, from telling the good news about Jesus Christ. As an adult, it changed. Instead of fear, the reason I didn't evangelize is because I wasn't experiencing the good news. I had replaced the good news of Jesus Christ, the peace of Jesus Christ, with happiness and peace that came from other things. And I'll tell you, just like the Roman peace, the peace I had found was false. It was temporary. I needed to re-experience the peace and hope of Christ that I knew back in high school. So once I re-experienced that, once I started seeking God and found my peace and hope and joy in Jesus, it became easier for me to start evangelizing again. So fear was holding me back in high school, and then my just finding peace in the wrong source was the reason I didn't evangelize as an adult. So what is holding you back? This week, I want you to ask the question, what is keeping me from telling people the good news about Jesus Christ? Is it fear? Is it fear of rejection? Is it fear of conflict? I'll tell you what, anytime I will say anything that contradicts someone on like Facebook or any social media, anytime I tell someone, hey, I think you're wrong for this reason, anytime I try and get into an argument, even a peaceful argument on Facebook, I'm totally stressed out for that entire day. So fear of conflict is another thing for me that just keeps popping up. But for you, what is it? What is it holding you back from preaching the gospel? Is it fear of rejection? Is it fear of conflict? Or maybe like me, you don't feel like you experience the good news. Maybe you're okay evangelizing other things. Maybe you will evangelize the good news of Mr. Beast on YouTube. Or maybe you will tell people, hey, you need to play this game. This game is so much fun. But maybe the peace and joy you're finding in those things is replacing the true peace and joy you're supposed to find in Jesus. So what is it that's holding you back? I want you to spend some time this week asking that question. What is keeping me from preaching the gospel? What is keeping me from telling others the good news about Jesus? And then, once you think you've come to the reason, I want you to talk to God about it. Ask God, hey God, what needs to change so that I am comfortable and excited about telling people the good news about you? What needs to shift in my life? Is there fear that I need to let go of? Am I finding peace in something else? Am I preaching the good news of something else and I need to shift that? I need to find my peace and joy in you so that I will preach the good news about you? So just to recap there, first is I want you to think about what is it that's holding you back. Because we're not supposed to feel guilty or condemned because we're not evangelizing. Instead, we're supposed to be problem solvers. What is the thing that's keeping us from doing what we're supposed to be doing? And then talk to God about it. Have God help you strategize on how can I become a better evangelist? How can I tell people about the good news? How can I get rid of whatever's holding me back? Next week, we're going to talk practically. So this week, I want you to figure out what the root problem is keeping you from evangelizing. Next week, we're going to talk about practical tips on how to evangelize. So maybe this week you're like, well, I already evangelize. I already do this on a regular basis. Well, next week is going to be especially for you because we're going to talk about some practical tips. Here is how to evangelize in a way that will bring people to the church so that you can put feet to your thoughts. You can put actions to your beliefs. You can start to see people come to church. You can start to see people come to Jesus. And that is really exciting. So I'm really excited and I hope to see you next week.